Ek. Hey, hi everybody. Can you see us? Can you hear us? We are on the Brilliantly Sexy show with Devina Kaur, and today it is my honor and my pleasure to welcome Logan Jayson all the way from...
Hi everybody, can you see us?
And Logan Jayson is joining us all the way from Mexico, where he is traveling right now. And he is the founder of Decode Your Reality. He's a metaphysician.
Hey, hi everybody, can you see us? Can you hear
Whoa.
us?
Sorry.
You're gonna have to put that on mute if you got your YouTube open.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. At least we're live. We know that. That's a confirmation. So, Logan Jayson is a metaphysician, an independent researcher, a scientist, and a decoder in the mystical arts world with a heavy influence in esoteric expressions with the antiquity of ancient old practices and rituals. His main focus is syncretism, the blending of ancient old practices into one, forming a more acute expression of our experienced reality. And Logan Jayson is also a life strategist, having developed a system called Life Coding, which uses multiple mystical art modalities to define who we are and why we are here during this incarnation. A platform that pinpoints with 100% accuracy our cosmic blueprint and our personality. So thank you so much, Logan. That's I love what you're doing, and I'm so grateful that we have this chance to be together tonight. Before we go further, could you please introduce us? And I also want to say to everybody who's tuning in, please join us. Thank you so much for joining in, and just be open-minded about everything that we're going to learn today from Jayson. So Logan, go ahead, please.
I go by both names, so it doesn't matter. So thank you for having me on here, and everyone that's watching, thank you for joining in and sharing some of your space tonight, because you could have been anywhere else tonight, but you decided to come on here and join us. So I know I'm grateful. I live in a state of gratitude. So thank you so very much for that. So I'm a decoder, and my actual title is a metaphysician. So what I do is I help heal people using the mystical arts and the platforms that deal with the mental realms and the quantum realms versus the typical realms of healing through the physical modalities, like a doctor or a healer in that sense. But I've been a nutritionist for a very long time. I'm certified in nutrition, and I've been in the health and wellness world almost my entire life. I started kind of working out with weights when I was about 16 years old. I became a gym rat, and then it just naturally became involved in nutrition. And it was probably in 2016 when I really, 2013 is when I really got involved with decoding reality. And what is decoding reality? Well, it's taking all the modalities in our matrix reality, everything in our world, everything we speak, everything we see, everything we write down, and using these layers to kind of blend together and then kind of get a narrative based upon what we blend together. And that's called syncretism, which, I can take two different layers, such as the ancient tarot system, and then where the tarot came from is the cards of illumination, a typical deck of playing cards that almost all of you, if not every one of you, have used to play with, whether it's gin rummy or poker or blackjack. These cards actually are embedded into nature, and we can blend them together with the tarot, and they're synchronistic. And when we blend them together along with numerology, we get a bigger, stronger narrative that we can decode our world that we all live in from. And it can really be defined and to tell us the real story about who we are as people and why exactly we're here. So, I do personal readings for people. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. My typical reading is about 3 to 4 hours, and I go through quite a different bit of modalities, especially astrology, numerology, the cards of illumination, the tarot, and bringing those all together to show you exactly your cosmic blueprint. And that's really what it's all about, folks, because right now, many astrologers think that we are either in the age of Aquarius or we've moved into the age of Aquarius. And that age that we're either now in or moving in is all about knowing thyself. And there are no more secrets that are going to be left on the table. There probably is not going to be the occult world anymore, which just means secret. Occult means secret. So there's no taboo around that word occult, which the church really has given it such a bad rap, as the occult, saying it's demonic and all that. The only reason why the labeling of the occult and the mystical arts and the tarot and all that, and the church claiming it as demonic and astrology and numerology, is because in those platforms is where you will find the keys to your personal kingdom. And it's all about an individual journey. It's not about finding something in somebody else, although that's great to see, like in your partner. But really, salvation is earned on an individual basis, if you want to believe in such a word. So therefore, the very best thing that each and every one of you can do in today's age is to define who you are and why you're here. And for the majority of people that I see in the world today, and I'm not saying this is you personally, so this is not linked directly to you, but the majority of the people in the world today are completely lost. They don't know which way to go. And so they're in kind of a standing still zone. They don't know what's true and what's not true. And of course, on the world stage right now, that's what's being played out. It's news versus fake news, what's real and what's not real. And so people are really trying to scramble to figure out how this world works and who is telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. And so the very best thing that you can do is to define yourself on a personal level. And of course, you want to get involved with these mystical art platforms that I fancy so much, which I just gravitated towards, and it's part of my destiny. You see, folks, each and every single one of you have what's called a cosmic blueprint or a code. You're completely coded. And our world that we know it is relying solely on one thing, and that is numbers and mathematics. Everything can be measured using mathematics. And maybe you didn't, when I was growing up in high school, I couldn't stand math. I didn't like it. I think I scratched a C on my report card. I didn't really enjoy math. But now I can't get my mind wrapped around enough of it. I constantly are observing numbers. So if you're into like prime numbers, Fibonacci numbers, trigonal numbers, the sine wave, the cosine waves, I love the string of pi. Pi is everything. We live inside the constructs of pi, which is the measurement of a circle. And since we all live on the planet Earth, and Earth is a circle, whether you believe in flat Earth or the globe or the concave, point is that we live inside of that circle, and a circle is pi, and that is an infinite amount of numbers and the infinite possibilities, and you are stuck inside that infinite amount of potential. So the very best thing you can do is to decode yourself, because the majority of people, and that may include you, you don't know why you're here. You don't know your true purpose, and it frustrates you. And I understand that completely, or I say I understand that completely, because many of you, instead of committing suicide, you just go to work. Many of you, instead of committing suicide, you just stay in the relationships that you're in right now. And I just say that loosely, that word, because it's kind of humorous and funny, right? Because many of you are living out your lives right now, and you're not living out your true purpose. And of course, how do you find your true purpose? Well, you go through the platforms that have been demonized in our world, because our world's been inverted. So mainly everything that all of us have been told are complete lies. And those lies are coming to the surface, and the rats are being exposed. You know, like this year is a prime example. In the Chinese astrology, this is the year of the rat. And what has been happening on the world stage, people have been getting ratted out. So in essence, and I don't want to bring politics too much into this, but it's playing out its part. I mean, Trump is exposing, he said he's going to drain the swamp, Well, the swamp is full of rats. And of course, he's exposing that. He's just doing his job, right? Whether you like him or not, he's doing his job. And are you doing your job on the world stage? Because it's all about energy flow, really. That's what it comes down to, which is what I decode quite a bit about, is about the flow of energy. Because I believe that we're all here playing out our part, but we're all being used like a marionette on strings. Now, what do I mean by that? What I'm saying and what I theorize in is that our minds are not our own. And the thoughts that come into your mind, like that little voice that's talking in the back of your head right now as I'm speaking, I'm saying that that voice is in control of you and you're not in control of it. Now, I can't prove that, but you can't prove that you're in control of it. It's not, absolutely not possible to prove either cases. It will always come down to an opinion. So, of course, I want to put my opinion to the test, and so I support it. So my YouTube channel, which is called Decode Your Reality, I now have over 100 videos, maybe closing in on 130, 140 videos that support what I'm saying about man being used. Mm-hmm. And since our lives are being used, that means that our lives are scripted, because everything that I've been showing on my channel is showing and supporting that our matrix reality in the movies and music and sports and politics, and yes, even in our own personal lives, they are completely scripted and rigged, which means that you came here to fulfill an agenda that was written long before you ever popped out of your mother's womb into this world called life, the game of life, which is what we're all playing. So in essence, you know, there's a lot of scientists and theorists that say that we're living in a simulation. And that may be entirely true, but it's a very real situation because, you know, the way our world works doesn't seem like a simulation whatsoever. But is it too far-fetched to believe that we're living inside of a simulation and we're being controlled and used? I mean, my statements of man being used like a marionette, like a puppet on strings, is nothing new. I mean, the Greeks, back in the ancient Greek systems, they called it ambrosia, and ambrosia means energetic food for the gods. And so that just means that our energy, our emotions that we give off, there are only two, by the way. We have fear and we have love. Those are the only two emotions that we as human beings give off. And everything else is kind of subordinate underneath those two emotions. But those emotions, they feed something, because everything can be measured through vibrational frequency, which can be measured in mathematics, which is why I'm such a fanatic about the numbers. But those energies that we give off as human beings, they feed something outside of our physical reality. And I believe it's something non-physical that's using us as a food source. As crazy as that might sound to some of you being used, and it's a really kind of a horrible thing to think about, like, you know, my life's not my own. What about my free will? I believe I have free will. Well, again, I'm not here to steal or rob your beliefs. I'm not here to force anything upon you. I'm just here to support what my opinion is. So, you know, it's easy to come on any podcast. It's easy to tell anybody a story and what you believe is your opinion. The challenging part is to back that opinion up, Devina, and that's really where I come in. I don't just say my opinions, I back it up with countless videos now. And I have so many hours of research. And, you know, there's tons of great decoders out there besides myself that I learned from and that I'm grateful for, because I take from what they decode and I use it for my own decodings. And then, of course, we all just are in this together. And, you know, what's really fascinating is that it may be a catch-22, really, this whole decoding world, because, you know, I believe we're headed towards what's called the Great Reset, or what the elite, if people call them the elite, I don't call them that, but the world leaders right now in the temporary positions they're in, they call it the New World Order, right? Yeah. And that's just the age of Aquarius. That's all it is. People get so afraid. It's got a big stigma around it about, oh my God, it's the New World Order. Well, I mean, I think it was George W. Bush, 43rd president, that actually kind of ushered in that word for the first time on the world stage in a big fashion. He may not have been the first guy to say it, but he definitely was noted for saying it a few times. on the world stage in front of the podium to the world. And that's just the new age of Aquarius. And it's just a matter of shifting from one zodiac sign into the next. And whether or not you want to believe astrology is true and accurate, whether or not you were raised in a religious family and you were told to stay away from that because the Bible, and the people will pull out a Bible and they'll say, right there it says you should not. It doesn't say anything like that. I know the Bible so good. I know it just as good as any rabbi, priest, any kind of pastor, because that's all I do is decode it. And there is no scripture in the Bible that says that astrology is condemned. There is nothing in there that says that. And you have to understand, folks, the Bible is part of the zodiac sign Taurus, because bi means two and bull means the Taurus of the bull, Taurus bull. And that's the planet Venus. Venus is the second planet. Taurus is the second zodiac sign. And that's where the bi bull, because it has the Old Testament and the New Testament, comes into play. So the Bible is completely littered with astrology. It's nothing but astrology. And if you really understand that book, you realize that it's not a true book in a sense. Because, folks, I mean, you got to think about this. The first man and woman that were ever created, and they were perfect, and they screwed it up. What gives us imperfect human beings any chance of anything happening the right way, folks?
Yeah.
The first two human beings that were perfect screwed it up. And you got to realize that that God of the Bible is not who you think it is. And you have to start studying that, because we throw these terms around so loosely about God this and God that, and people don't really have any idea what that word means and what it's linked to, or the word Lord, or the word Yahweh, or the word Jehovah, or the word Allah. But the thing is, folks, they're all the same. And for those of you in India, which I love the Vedic system, it's probably my favorite because I think it's the closest to the truth. The Hinduism religion is the oldest known religion known to man. So if you're a Christian out there, why have you not read the Upanishads? You owe it to yourself to do that. But I call people out on that are Christians or Catholics that just believe in the Bible, and they're like, the Bible's the truth. Well, I mean, that's not even the oldest book. And you're claiming something that's not even true, really. So when you get to the Vedics and their philosophy, it's not a religion per se. It's a way of life. And they say that, we started off in the golden age, and then we descend down to the dark age, which is what we're in now, called the Kali Yuga. And we go through these yugas. And once the reset happens, we go right back to the golden age again, and we start over. And like that ancient proverb said, that once the game is over, the king and the pawn go back in the same box.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's such a phenomenal quote, and it's so true. And so you need to know what your position is on the board, because it's really unnecessary to argue or debate about who's right and what book is the strongest, because everybody thinks that their way is the right way. And guess what? You're right. That was the greatest thing in my entire life to learn, was that everybody living today is right. Nobody's wrong, and no one wants to be wrong. So you might as well just accept the fact I'm right, you're right. Devina, you're right. I mean, everybody's right, because nobody lives through your life and your eyes and your shoes. And the very one thing you should not be doing is asking anybody for their suggestions or opinions, unless it's a professional one. You're like, if you want to start a business and ask an entrepreneur and you pay them or something like that, or go to the doctors, that's a different story. But you should be asking your friend, like, hey, what do you think I should do here? Because of course they're going to give you their opinion, and it's not going to be anything close to what you probably are going to do, because they don't fit your shoes.
Yeah, man, and I completely agree. And Logan, the world that we're living in, there's division, we're all lost. And it is created, the system is broken. The system is deliberately created like that. So we stay in that loop of, being lost and not knowing who we are. We have no spiritual confidence. We think astrology is not good. We also think the same thing about religion. And we have different opinions, different upbringings, different cultures, right? So the reason that we're doing this today is because Logan has a gift, and I want to share it with you guys because I've had the opportunity to do a decoding with Logan, and it was one of the most beneficial sessions that I have done. I mean, there's true knowledge that he's talking about. So, I want everybody to be open minded. And Logan, are you going to take us through a decoding today?
Yeah.
I would love for you to share that with us on screen, and I know you've done so much work. And I also, there's a lot of comments coming in, and 777 says, I totally resonate with what Logan is saying. We have been nothing but an experiment for a long time. That is so true. And again, guys, we're all in this. Even Logan, even myself, we're all here. We're learning from you, and you're learning from us right now. So we're all here to exchange information, to do our part, whether that is to sit here, talk, whether that's to listen, whether that's to write a book. But it all starts with knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Self-knowledge is sexy. So that's where we are. So Logan, I know there's a lot of information, and I would love for you to share some of your, a decoding that you've done. And Logan has this incredible method of bringing in science, numerology, astrology, as well as coding.
Yep. Well, you got my method. I'll show you my methodology, but you'll see that, like I said, I have over 100 videos that support my methodology. So I know it works, and, I know it's accurate, and it's not just like I'm a one-hit wonder kind of person. And that's not to try to pat myself on the back. I'm not looking for any gold stars to pin on my chest. I'm not looking for anybody to give me any compliments in that way, shape, or form. This is my coding, and I'm expressing myself through what my destiny is all about. And when you get into your destiny, folks, and you decode yourself, and you finally see all the cosmic blueprints coming to fruition, it gives you a lot of confirmation, because, some of you should be on stage singing your music, and you're not, because you're too afraid, because something happened when you were a kid. I mean, a lot of things that happen to us that root us and keep us stuck are between the ages of 2 and 14. And that's just straight psychology, if you want to get into that. I love psychology. So they say between the ages of 2 and 14 are the root of who you are. And much of what happened to you when you were a child impacted your life right now. And so you need to look back on those instances and circumstances that happened in your life and observe them, and then of course get rid of a lot of them because they're holding you back. But when you decode yourself, you have the ability to see your blueprint with your own 2 eyes, to give you confirmation and to make that leap into the scary, fiery unknown that may be risky to you, right? But again, some of you should be engineers and you're not. Some of you should be singing on stage and you're not. Some of you are just flat out superstars and you're not living out that life. And so you literally will waste this incarnation. And if you believe in the element of reincarnation, well, you're just going to have to come right back and start at the same level again on those rules of the reincarnation aspect, right? Which may be true, but there's no way to prove any of that. But what we can prove is that you're right here, right now, watching this podcast and listening, and you're here not out of coincidence. You're supposed to be here listening to this, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it as a recorded video and watching it not in real time. But the point is that you need to discover, or you should discover, the keys to your kingdom so you can take that necessary leap. Some of you just need confirmation. Some of you just need the confirmation to then make the leap to do what you really came here to do and play out your script. Because folks, I've proven it so much. I'm just going to take you, folks. I'm going to take you on. Let me share my screen and show you. I just decoded the Dark Side of the Moon album by Pink Floyd. Okay. Devina, can you see my screen?
Yes, okay. I can see your screen.
Okay. So let me take you through my methodology and show you exactly how accurate this is in the way it works. And this is how you can decode yourself, folks. So I decoded last night, and I put it out on my YouTube channel, the decoding of one of the greatest selling musical albums of all time, called The Dark Side of the Moon. And it was right here. okay, The Dark Side of the Moon, and it's by the band Pink Floyd. Now, maybe you've never heard of Pink Floyd, but they're one of the greatest selling bands of all time. And they have one of the biggest fan followings and draws, and they're just a major influencer on the world stage of music. So whether you like them or not really is irrelevant. Point is that they're a major player in the music industry. So what we have, we can start right here with this called numerology. Whoops. We can do this with numerology right here, which is the science of numbers. It's breaking down the spoken word into numbers. And Pink Floyd, the band's name, is a total of 9 letters, but its total numerology output is the number 39. All of these numbers add up to the number 39. So then we can link another layer to that to give us another layer to observe from and to get some symbols out of these numbers. So the next very best thing you can do is to bring in one of the cards of illumination. That's what I call these, the typical cards in a typical deck of playing cards, poker, blackjack, gin rummy, what have you. And those right there, folks, are these cards right here. Now, I have them all numbered, and all of these are in sequence. So you have the heart suit is first, which represents the element fire. The club suit is the second suit. That represents the element air. So we have fire and air. Now we have the third suit, which is diamonds, and that represents water. Water is running our emotions. What is primarily the human body made up of? Water. And this is the diamond suit. And then the last suit representing earth is the spades suit. And what you'll notice is the symbol of the spades is the heart upside down pointing upwards. It's literally an upside down heart pointing upwards. And then you come over here in the heart, and the heart's pointing downwards. So this is fire and this is earth, and they're the opposite ends of the elements. And then you have the air and water in between. And it's this diamond suit that sits above our head, because some of you have heard the song by the Beatles called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Well, that is this diamond suit right here. All of these cards represent Lucy in the sky with diamonds. And, you know, as a matter of fact, the birth card of the United States of America is this Jack Diamonds card. And this is a water suit card. And the Jack, if you play chess, is the knight on the chessboard. And we're all playing the game of chess. It's called the game of life. And then you have your king and queen, which are the royal courtship cards, or the king and queen on the chessboard. But you'll notice that the 39th card is the King Diamonds card. And then I go back over to my diagram, and this 39th card is a direct match of the band's numerology, Pink Floyd. It's a 39. So you can see that these are completely tied together, and I like to say they're in bed together. And then we can bring in a third layer to give us another layer to observe from, a bridge, I like to call it, or numbers. And that is the elements of the periodic table. Now, let me just take you over here and show you, this is the periodic table from science. And maybe this is the first time that you've been seeing this since high school. I know when I first started utilizing it, I hadn't looked at it since high school. So I was very unfamiliar with it. And it can be obviously very challenging because there's so many layers to it. But all these are the 118 known elements. There's number 118. And these all have little pictures to them as you scroll over. And the pictures have descriptions. And the descriptions will have the person who discovered it, what year it was discovered, the densities, the atomic weights and masses. So what can we do with these? We can then tie them into these cards and numerology. That's what we can do to give us a bridge and another layer to observe things from. So the 39th card tied to 39 in Pink Floyd is tied to this element right here called yttrium, the 39th element. And what's special about this yttrium, ladies and gentlemen, is its atomic weight. Now this number right here is what can be measured in a laboratory. The weight or atomic mass of this element is what can be found in a laboratory. So these are real numbers, not fabricated, but can be measured and observed in a laboratory. So we can connect it to the cards and numerology, And what's really interesting about this element is that it has an atomic weight of 88. And if you've ever seen the movie Back to the Future in 1985 with Marty McFly and Doc Brown and time travel, Devina, what was the, have you ever seen that movie, Devina?
I have, yes.
You have. So do you remember how fast Marty McFly had to get the DeLorean in order to time travel?
Very fast.
Yeah, it was 88 miles an hour.
88 miles an hour. Okay.
88 miles an hour in order to time travel. Okay. Mm. And what's fascinating about this right here, folks, is that in order to time travel in that movie, not only did he have to get that DeLorean to 88 miles an hour, but what made time travel possible was called the flux capacitor. And I want you to keep your eye on this Y, because now I'm going to go right back. I'm going to go here and I'm going to show you something. Inside the DeLorean was the flux capacitor. And look at the shape of what makes time travel possible. Do you see that right there? What letter does that represent?
A Y.
The English alphabet. Yeah, the letter Y, right?
Yeah.
And we know that there's that 88. I mean, it's right there. 88 miles an hour. There's the flux capacitor, what makes time travel possible. Okay? So when you look at that letter Y and the 88, you can clearly see it's right inside the box that contains this element's expressions.
Hmm.
So there's the flux capacitor. There's the 88 miles an hour, and there's the number 39. Now, in astrology, if you're an astrologist and you separate those two numbers, it would be the 3rd house and the 9th house. And that is the indication of the lower mind, which is the number 3, and the higher mind, which is the number 9. And the number 9 is the most powerful number because it contains all other numbers 0 through 8. So the 9 is representing the higher mind, which if you look at the tarot, the 9th card, here are the tarot cards. There's the 9th card right here. So this represents the higher mind. And what is this card? It's called the Hermit. And what is the Hermit? It's the wise man. It's the old man on the mountain. This would be your Buddha and Gandhi and Jesus and Krishna and all the wise ones that were on this world stage to teach you something. The shaman, it's the number 9. And that's the higher mind. And that is 1/2 of the 39. So this right here is a very powerful combination of the lower mind and the higher mind. And it's tied to that time travel number of 88 and the flux capacitor in the movie Back to the Future. So did Robert Zemeckis, the director of Back to the Future, did he know this? Or was he just being used to fulfill an agenda? Did he just pick that letter Y out of thin air? Well, no, because there are a lot of other organizations in the world that know this information. The absolute big college in the United States is called Yale. And what's their symbol? When you look at their logo, it's the letter Y. And so, you know, obviously you can kind of start to, when you start to decode the Yale University and the writings on this book, this is their logo, you can figure out a lot about what's going on in a matrix reality. But that is the flux capacitor. And, you know, the guy who actually came out with Yale University, that was his last name, Yale. So, you know, did he actually choose his last name? Did he make it up? I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know the guy personally. But obviously, that if you study the Yale and the history of it, it was the guy's last name was Yale. But irregardless of that, here we are, and we can tie it right to this element yttrium, time travel, and we can tie it to this card right here called the King Diamonds, and we can tie it directly from the origin of what we started with, which is this band Pink Floyd and Dark Side of the Moon.
Sorry, now, how did you decode Pink Floyd into those numbers?
I'll show you. That's a good question. So if we go to this right here, this is the website I primarily use called gematria.com. And you should probably put these links in the description when you finish up so people can just click on them. But this is the website I use in order to decode from. And there are a lot of ciphers, and what are ciphers? Well, here they are right here. These are all different ones. So you can clearly see it can be a little bit crazy when you start to use and plug words and numbers in and whatnot. But when you get to this website, this is what it will look like. And I don't like to use some of these, so I like to go to this other category, click on this Chaldean, and that's the one I like to use right there, and just kind of ignore these for now. But if you're first starting out as a decoder, you want to utilize, this one right here. It's the most accurate. It's the oldest known numerology cipher on the planet. If you are a numerologist, you already know this. But this is the oldest known and most accurate. And you can decode anything. And you should know what your name is. Like Devina, you have this master number 22 to your name. We've already talked about that during your decode and your readings. But folks, when you go and type in Pink Floyd, there's that 39, you see? And with the actual breakdown of what numbers match up with what letters is contained right here. And this is called the cipher of Chaldean. Now, if you want to get really basic to another one, there's this one called English. This just uses the numbers 1 through 26, and it matches the A through Z. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, and so on. And the Chaldean obviously has a little bit of a different format to it. It uses different numbers and letters, but this cipher right here is based off of what's called phonetics, which phonetics is talking about the vibrational frequency of words, which is why this one, I feel, has the most merit and most accuracy. Okay.
Is there a difference when you do English?
There is. Yeah, because you see, like Pink Floyd in the English is a total of 112, which reduces down to a number 4. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. And then when you do the one in the Chaldean, it's 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. So it reduces. These little numbers at the bottom are what the numbers reduce down to when you add them up. So 4 plus 1 is 5. 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. 4 plus 9 is 13. 1 plus 3 is 4. And that's how you get that one. But these are all different. So it can get a little confusing. And that's why I'm suggesting that you uncheck these right here and just go with these two basic ones right here if you're going to be decoding and you're new to this whole world. And if anybody needs any help, send me an email. My email is decodeyourreality@gmail.com, and I'll help you any way that I can. But these are the two primaries that I utilize unless I get into foreign languages like Hebrew or Greek and stuff like that. Then we're talking about using their language and breaking it down using their respected ciphers that they break down the words and stuff like that. So obviously it can get a little challenging because this one is telling us that Pink Floyd is a 4, and this one's telling us Pink Floyd is a 3. So then you have to obviously be a decoder, and you need to start practicing this and understanding or understanding how the words and numbers express themselves and how to link things to get a better rendition of how it works. And that's why I like using the cards and the elements, and then we bring pi into this, which I want to show you next. So it's easy to get the numerology output, and then we tie that into a card of illumination, and that gives us a symbol to look at. It can tell us what element, because this is the water suit, and it can tell us, okay, well, what is the water suit? This means that these cards, the diamond suit, are emotional. Anybody out there who is a diamond. Now, I want to digress and show you. Here's the boilerplate chart for the birthdays right here. And if you want these graphics, any of these graphics that I have, I'll send them to you. Just send me an email. My email is decodeyourreality@gmail, and I'll send them to you. But anyway, here are the 12 months running horizontally, and then you have your 31 days running vertically. And all the birthdays are in here, all 365 days. And you're going to have a card specifically linked to your birthday. And I can promise you that when you find out what your card is, it will be about 90 to 95% accurate in the way it describes who you are. Now, the website that I use for that is called it'sallinthecards.com. And if this is my friend's website who's been studying the cards for 40 plus years, okay? And she calls it the mystical deck. and you just plug in your birthday and you hit submit, and it'll pop up your card. And in this paragraph, it will definitely describe a big piece of how you express yourself on the world stage. Most people say that that's 100% accurate. Yeah, it's so stinking accurate. And there's obviously you have multiple cards. Okay, so going back to this right here, the King Diamonds is the water suit. So it's saying Pink Floyd is going to utilize and work itself into your emotions. What does music do? It affects our emotions. And what happens when our emotions are affected? We get influenced. And what happens when we get influenced? We start taking actions based upon those influences. So it's obviously very important to understand what these bands and what the music is and what it's all about, and and that's what I'm into. So to go further in this, Devina, is we can add a fourth layer, which is called pi. And pi, as I mentioned, is the measurement of a perfect circle. So you can go to this website right here, which is called Subidium.com, and you can plug in any number into this, and it'll tell you where that digit, like give me a digit, Devina.
14.
14, which is your birthday. So 14, it appears at the very first digit of pi.
3.14, yeah.
You make up the 1 and 2. And so what does that tell us about the 14? And Devina, that's your birthday, right? And we've gone over the 14 gives its power to the 5. But in the string of pi, it occupies the first and second digit. Well, what does 1 and 2 mean? It ends up giving its energy to the number 3. And the number 3 is all about communication. And Devina, what does it you primarily do to earn your way through this world and help the world out? You communicate, right? So clearly you can see how accurate this will give you in its expressions if you know how to interpret it the correct way. And that's what we do. We go and type in the number 39, which is what Pink Floyd was, and you'll see that it occupies the 43rd and the 44th decimal digit. I'll just give you the first one, but it occupies both the 43 and the 44. So then we go back here, and you'll notice that these two big nouns in the world of sacred geometry, called the octahedron and the tetrahedron, they both take up that 43 and that 44 tied to that number 39. Okay? And these shapes, why are these so accurate in this methodology? Because you see, folks, this shape right here is called the octahedron. And on Pink Floyd's album, Dark Side of the Moon, which is right here, this is the album cover, they have a pyramid on there, otherwise known as the tetrahedron, which is right here. Tetrahedron is the number 44 in numerology. So the 39 occupies the 43rd and the 44th decimal digits in the string of pi. So the octahedron and tetrahedron are tied to that number 39. And Pink Floyd uses the tetrahedron on its album cover, which is right here in the background. Now, what about this octahedron? Well, does that not look like an octahedron to you on that king? What does a diamond look like? It's an octahedron. So when you start to look at this whole bigger picture, this is a puzzle. And this is called decoding. And that's why I have my channel, Decode Your Reality, which is right here. I have over 100 videos now of so many different topics. I decoded Lady Gaga. I came out with Thanksgiving, what just happened a little bit ago. I decoded Back in Black by AC/DC. I decoded the COVID-19 vaccine that's going to be coming out. So if you want to know what the COVID-19 vaccine is all about, then you should watch this decode. I decoded The Truman Show and that movie and what it means. I decoded Michael Jackson. I decoded Pink Floyd. I decoded The Matrix, Prince, Event 201, which is all about the COVID-19. I decoded Jack in the Box, Alice in Wonderland, Lucifer, the show on Netflix, Christopher Columbus, who supposedly discovered America, the moon landing, the Bible code, the COVID-19 timeline. I mean, I have so many great topics in here, from sacred geometry and the flower of life, to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to The Simpsons, to the Great Pyramid, to the Vesica Piscis, to Donald Trump, Microsoft and cryptocurrency, the Pope, Bill Gates, Back to the Future. I have so many Georgia Guidestones. I have so many big time topics on the world stage, folks. And these will just completely blow you away, and they will shatter some of the beliefs that you hold as to how this world works and why we're doing the things that we're doing. I mean, Kobe Bryant's death, the Bible, the Super Bowl, Christianity, the Dalai Lama, the Last Supper. I mean, I have so many. Then we get into esoteric, the burning bush, Jesus, the Joker movie, religion, the Bible, the Lord's Prayer, Greta Thunberg, who was all about John Wick, September 11th, 666, and the great number of the beast.
Oh, wow.
Power. Yeah, I have so many good videos in here. Saturn and Jesus, if you want to get into astrology, alchemy, the yin yang.
Do you have a video that shows us how to decode ourselves?
Well, I have it right here. I have Decoding Your Birthday, and then one of my probably most popular videos is this one right here, How to Decode Yourself. Oops. I don't want to open it because it'll play it, but it's this one right here, How to Decode Yourself.
Okay.
And I show 10 different layers from 10 different modalities, from astrology to the tarot, to the animal tarot, to numerology, to alchemy, alchemology, your totem pole. I have another video right here which shows you how to decode your totem pole. And you only do this one time in your lifetime. And I was able to do my really good friend Santos Bonacci's totem pole. He visited me in LA, and he was gracious enough to let me do his totem pole, and he allowed me to share the findings through this video. But this is something you do only once in your lifetime. That's it. You don't do it multiple times like you can do a reading through astrology or numerology or pull tarot cards. You only do this one time to figure out what animals that you're going to be utilizing through the years of your life. And they change, and they're based upon your chakra points. Okay?
So why are we just reading the totem poles only once in our lifetime?
Because it's fixed in your reality. And each of these cards that you pull will be lined up with a chakra point.
Do you have these cards? Can we pull them on camera?
I don't have them, and you can't pull them on camera. I can show you though. I can show you what they look like.
Oh,
yeah. This is what it kind of looks like. So let me get this full screen right here. And you're going to want to do this. I mean, you start at the root chakra and you work your way up, and you're going to pull 9 cards. And there's a certain method to do it. I learned this from a real Cherokee shaman outside of Los Angeles when I was there last year. And I was really floored by the accuracy of my own personal life and these cards that I'm living through. And they go off of course, your chakra points. So this is Santos's chart. And it goes by years. About every 13 years is when you'll change. And it goes through these chakras. So you have your root, and then you move into the sacral, solar plexus, your anahata, and then your throat, and so on. And they will tell you what animal. And there's a book to get with the animal cards. They're called the medicine cards. And it'll tell you from where you stand in where you're living today, what animal you're going to be expressing yourself through primarily. And it's important to know this kind of stuff. And I can tell you, folks, it's so accurate. It's extremely accurate as to why you're here, and a big piece and a big chunk of exactly what your position is on the world stage. So you're going to want to do this. And this is, obviously it's got a lot of views. And Santos was kind enough to allow me to show and showcase his totem pole. But this is something you can have a shaman pull for you, but it's all about the interpretation. But you can get the book, and then the cards you pull, you can read from the book, and it'll tell you what the animals are all about. The cards in book are like $30, and it's fun. It's fun, and you only do it once in your life, to get your fixed cards that are related to your chakras and then the years of your life. So, for me, I'm living through my heart chakra right now. And, I have the Jaguar card where my heart chakra is, and the Jaguar is all about the work that I'm doing right now. So it's very fitting for me, to share that with all of you. It's all about integrity. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about showing you my integrity to this great research and work. And I think it's very, very, very accurate. And each and every single one of you should be doing this totem pole. Absolutely, to decode who you are and why you're here.
Well, the totem pole too, but also just I find you showed it to us earlier. It's all about the cards. But Sharon,
all about the cards. That's right here. That's these cards right here.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is just click on this link. It's all on thecards.com, and then just plug in your birthday, and then hit submit, and it will pull up your card. And like I said, these are keys to your kingdom. Some of you need these keys because you just need the confirmation to move into the next chapter of your life.
Yeah.
Because this is part of your blueprint. This is part of your blueprint. Okay? And it's important to know why you're here and what your position is on the world stage. And, you can get into the human design. This is called the human design. And this is another layer that you need to observe yourself from based off the 64 numbers of the I Ching. This is highly, highly accurate. And this system came out in the 1980s. And the guy who invented it or discovered it, he's passed on now. But this is a highly accurate system. And you get that from this website called Jovian Archive. And you just, type in your name and plug in the calculations, and it'll spit out your actual type. And when you, hit that calculation button, it'll tell you what your personality type is, what your profile is. There's a lot of layers to read from this right here, and this is another layer. And then also, some of you should be reading what your personality type is. Devina, I didn't ask you what your personality type was, but I was going to, because you got to take this free test right here. This is called humanmetrics.com. And this is after the Carl Jung personality Briggs-Myers. And here are the 16 different personalities. And you're going to be one of them. And they're not fixed, so they can change as you transcend into different layers of your life and different years. These can definitely change. And it's just a matter of going through these questions and answering them without giving them much thought. You want to give it just a quick run through. And you want to answer the question a very certain yes, a neutral, uncertain, a no, and then a really definitive no. And just go through it and don't try to overthink it. And I think there's, 64 questions.
Hey,
and
what's the significance of the number 64?
Well, that's a great question. Well, there are, inside of our DNA, there are 64 possible codons in our DNA. Okay? And this is all about science now, folks. There are 64 possible codon combinations. Okay? So 64 is a big deal number. And that is the very reason why a chessboard will have 64 squares on it, because of the fact that we are tied to this and the game that we're playing called life. Because you see, folks, this is what we're playing. What's really fascinating about the game of chess, it's very strategic, but there are 64 squares on that chessboard that matches the 64 codons in our DNA. And what you need to figure out is what piece you're on the board. Which one are you using? Because there are so many people on the world today that are just the pawns. They're playing out the pawns. And you know those type. And again, I don't take anything away from these people. But there are people that are just completely lost and they just will not make it. And what I mean by not making it is they're just not going to make it through this first round of this game of life. because they just don't want to accept that, like the government and state, they just cannot accept the fact that they're sock puppets and they're being used. And that all those government and state officials, they're all puppets on strings and they're being used like pieces on a chessboard. And so what's going to end up happening is they'll never graduate into a bigger piece on the world stage, because that's what it's about, folks. We're playing chess. You're playing the game of life. And that's why this chessboard has 64 squares on it. Just like this human design system is based on 64 numbers, which is tied to our codons in our DNA, which is tied to the chessboard. And when you get down to the number 64 and you get into the actual breakdown of the chakras, you'll see that the number 6 is the third eye and the number 4 is the heart chakra. That's what 64 is. It's the third eye and the heart. And we end up falling in love with what we end up believing through the third eye. Because, what's fascinating, Devina, is that the 2 eyes that we all have, those are our devils. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you look at the eyeball, you go back here. When you look at a typical eye, what's inside that eye is called a pupil. Now, what's the very definition of a pupil? It means student. So we're a student of life.
It's also a pie.
It is a pie. It is absolutely a pie. But it's also, this is your natal chart right here.
Really?
This is your natal chart right here. This is your absolute natal chart. And of course you say, well, wait a minute, there's 2 eyes. That's correct, because you see, when you look at a natal chart, I go to that, there's your eyeball right there. Okay, this is your eyeball. And in the very center is your pupil. And that's why there's 12 houses in astrology, and the 13 is in the very dead center called your pupil. This is where you die and go to the next level. And we go internally. That's why you got to go within. The kingdom of God is within you. And so you're saying, okay, well, this is my one eye. Where's the other one? The other one is the current chart of the world, like right now. If we were to pull up the current natal chart of the world, it would look different than this one. This is somebody's chart. But this is your blueprint. This is your left eye. And then your right eye would have another chart over here, which is the current astrological chart of the now moment. And that makes up your face, because your face is just an astrology chart. That's all it is. And it's your eyeballs, which, yes, you are absolutely correct. Pi is in here because there's infinite potential. And this is a circle, which is our eyeball. And so, this is your snapshot. I mean, a camera takes a picture. This is the picture of you when you were born and where all the planets are at exact positions in the world and in the canopy when you came out through your mother's womb. So this is this is somebody's blueprint. And then if I were to take the current chart, it would look obviously different of what the planets are right now. And a lot of astrologists, what they'll do is they'll combine the charts and they'll give you a reading based upon the differences between now and where you're at. And you can make some predictions that way. I don't get into the predictions. I just like to get into the empirical to tell you what this is your blueprint. And most of you out there listening, you don't know what your blueprint is. You don't know why you're here. You don't know your true power. And that's a shame, because we're moving into an age where it's all about I know thyself. And if you don't know yourself, you're going to get lost. Because, there's nothing you can't find in today's world, right, Devina? I mean, all you got to do, 30 years ago, if you're sitting in the back of a car with some friends and they're like, hey, who sang that song? You can't just pull out your phone and look up who sang the song. You have to wait to get home and maybe look up in a magazine or ask somebody, call them on the phone. In today's world, it's almost instant. You can find anything on the internet. So there's no more secrets anymore. There's absolutely no more secrets left in our world. And it all comes down to knowing thyself. It's really all comes down to knowing thyself. So I hope that kind of I hope it didn't confuse anybody. I hope it was, simple enough for people to kind of get a grasp of how this world can be decoded, and what the most important pieces are to the puzzle of your specific life. Because again, I'm just living in your life. Devina's just living in your life. And then you're living in my life. If you come associate with me, now you're in my story. You're part of my story. I'm in your story. Like Devina, when we shared some time, like right now is a perfect example. I'm in your story, Devina, but then you're in my story. And then everybody watching, you're in my story and you're in Devina's story, but then we're in your story.
Yeah,
It's a matter of, okay, what story do you want to pay attention to? Well, of course, I don't sleep with you at night. I don't brush your teeth. I don't take a shower with you. It's your story. It's your snowflake. It's your blueprint. And for the majority of you listening, you don't know what your destiny is. You don't know your blueprint. And it's a shame because, again, we're moving into the age of Aquarius if we haven't already done so. And it's all about, I know thyself. And that's the name of the game, is when we have this great reset, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, it's all about knowing thyself. And that's when you know yourself, then you can start to perform your magic. Like, we're all magicians, all of us, every single one of us are magicians. We're witches and warlocks. Those are just dumb title names that people wanted to call somebody because they didn't, they're bad. You call it bad. It's just energy. Star Wars had it right. It's just called the Force. That's it. What you do with the Force dictates what kind of things that will come back to you, because whatever you put out, you get back. It's a cyclical pattern like that. Like, if you put out negative to people, that's what's going to come right back to you, and you'll get that flow. So, if you want to, if you're lacking in your life, the very best thing you can do is go out there and give. And you may say, I don't have any money. It's not about monetary. It's about what can you do to give to somebody to increase that flow. And then once you get that flow going, you want to continue that flow. You don't want to stop it. So, I'm a prime example. Devina, you're a prime example. Doing this podcast, I'm not getting paid to do this. And I'm certainly not coming on here to get clientele to do readings for. I'm going to get those here regardless. Do you know why I'm coming on here? Other than, Devina, you asked me, and of course, you're my friend, and I wanted to share some of this time because it's to help all of you, because it's not about me. When you come into this world, you have to understand it's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the world. You're just this small little fragment. You're this little, think about being an ant. When you walk outside tomorrow, try to remember to look at the ground and look at the ants and try to be that ant. And they're looking up at you, and you're miles high. You're a giant to the ant. Yet the ant will continue on its life. It will go fulfill its duties. That's exactly what we're doing. We're like ants compared to the energies outside of us, and we're just fulfilling our obligations and duties, right? But some of you are you're not doing that to your fullest potential because maybe you grew up and your parents said you weren't good enough. Or maybe, you got bullied in school and you're afraid now to do something. Or maybe, something tragic happened to you and that has limited your superstar status, because we're all superstars. In the tarot, if I can find the card really quick, the 17th card in the tarot is called the star card. Okay. And we're all stars. We're all stars. It's just a matter of, do you personally want to own that space?
Well, it's hard to own that space because in a world that tells us we're never enough, we're lost. We've already mentioned this earlier. We don't know ourselves. We're lost. But then now it's the time to change it. Now it's the time to connect to your heart space, know thyself, know who you are, know your gifts, know your darkness. Because even that darkness is a part of you.
Yeah.
So, each part of us is a gift. And when we know who we are, we can then practice radical self-acceptance.
That's right.
That's a way for more self-love. So, and I just want to mention something, that I am the published author of a book called Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious, which is a spiritual self-help workbook. And of course, it starts with Know Thyself. So knowing who you are, and I know we talk about this, and that's what Sexy Brilliant is based on. So make sure you check out that book. But also, Logan, I just want to, you've done this a long time. So to anybody who's listening, and if they want to start decoding first themselves, what's the best way to start?
Well, I would highly suggest that you go to my YouTube channel and find the video on how to decode yourself. I showed that earlier in the broadcast, and that is about an hour and 5 minutes long, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time. And to start there, because that I show you layer by layer on how to do it. I go through it pretty meticulously, and I've got a lot of positive feedback. Matter of fact, I think it's my only video that has no thumbs down. It has, I think I have like 300 and something plus thumbs up. This is kind of mind blowing. So there's nobody that's kind of thumbed it down. So I got a lot of positive feedback on there, and I created that because I wanted to have something shared from me that I can give as a gift to the world. So you can start to decode yourself and get yourself started on the road to discovering your true blueprint and becoming the star. Because, like this is the 17th card in the tarot deck. It's called the star card number 17. And that is a direct match of the word gold in numerology. The word gold equals the number 17. And we all are stars made up of gold. And your energy is the most important and precious thing that you can possibly raise going through this game of life that we're all playing. So starting off with how to decode yourself is probably the fastest start that you can do. And for some of you that, if you're in financial troubles, or, maybe you're in transitions, or, you just are trying to find your way with, trying to earn some cash and stuff like that, then my suggestion, I'm going to share my screen again. My suggestion is to go to the great, let me see. Let me know. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep, we can see your screen.
This is probably the biggest gift I can give you besides decoding yourself. It would be by this guy right here. His name is called Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor, this video, this series, they've remastered it. So it's about, I think there's like 15 parts to it, but it's called You Were Born Rich. And this guy has been doing these seminars for over 50 years. He's been on the stage now. This is him in current life. He's about 84 years old, and he's still doing this work. And these videos were done in the early 1980s. You can tell by the clothing he wears, but the information is priceless. And for years, I was a fanatic about this video series. I literally not only watched it every single day, but I turned it into an MP3, and I stopped listening to music for over a year. Whenever I got into my car, I would listen to this Born Rich series. I would listen to it over and over and over. What do great musicians do to become great musicians? They play the same songs over and over and over. So what should you be doing if you want to become rich? And I mean, I'm not saying that in a monetary sense. I'm just saying is if you want to learn how to think the correct way, using a methodology that is an exact science and how the machinations of this world works, this is the series you want to watch. And the sad part about this, Devina, is I give this to almost everybody that I do readings for or who I come in contact with that I feel need it. And the sad part is I'll go to them in 2-3 months and they stop watching it. Oh, I haven't watched it, or because it's free. And you see, folks, when things are free, you will have a tendency to not put a value on it. Things that are free, you'll put off. You're like, I can watch it later. Things that are free, they don't have any monetary value. If you spend $1,000 on a seminar, that's 3 days, and you got to travel an hour back and forth to get to that seminar, I bet your ass would be at that seminar every single one of those 3 days because you spent $1,000 in that seminar. So, clearly there takes some self-discipline to watch that video series. But folks, if you want to change your entire direction in life, and you are down in the dumps, or you're in transition, or a lot of people are out of work. We're going through a transitional time. And for the majority of you, you don't think in the right mannerisms because you're filled with a lot of beliefs that you were programmed through the television, through the radio, through what mom and dad said, your cousin, your brother, your sister, the person at school, your whatever. And it's not your fault. So I'm not trying to hear a blame. It's not a matter of trying to put you in a corner. It's just a matter of like owning your space. Where are you at right now? And just being authentic with your life and saying, I'm right here. This is where I'm at. I earn this amount, but I want to earn this amount. Okay, good. Don't fool yourself. Be authentic. And if you're willing to put time into that Born Rich Bob Proctor series, I don't get nothing by this, by the way. I don't get anything mailed to me. I don't get any kind of, kickbacks. And I'm not on an affiliate program with Bob Proctor. It's just I believe in the guy so much. He's changed my life more than probably anybody that I've ever mentored underneath. And he probably doesn't even know it because I met him one time. I went to his 30-year anniversary of the Born Rich in LA many, many years ago. And I got to meet him and shake his hand. And I've never been starstruck because I lived in LA for a long time. I don't really care. You see some superstars. But when I met Bob Proctor, I was like all choked up because that dude, he really changed my life. And he was a huge impact. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. He had such a huge impact on my life. So if you're stuck in life, you should decode yourself. Know your astrology chart. If you need a reading, that's what I do. I do readings. Do I charge for them? Absolutely. Because there has to be some kind of exchange for energy, right? And I can promise you my readings are like 3 to 4 hours. Guarantee you it'll be the best money you've ever spent. I go above and beyond the call of duty. And then, I show you my system on how to life code. And what is life coding? Well, when you go and read about, if you get an interpretation of somebody doing your chart, or if you go and read about, let's say your sun is in Leo, and you go read about the sun in Leo, when you go through that paragraph, it's not going to be 100% accurate. There's going to be things in there like, that's not really something that resonates with me. That's not me. So I found a system that I've developed. It's called life coding. And it's where you can bring information into and create your own personalized report. I do these reports with people, but you can do your own. And if you're willing to spend the time, when you get done using this life coding system, the report that you'll draft up will be 1000% accurate. If you were to hand it to somebody, you can tell them this is exactly who I am and it describes me to a T. There's nothing in here that will not describe me absolutely accurately. And that's my system called life coding. And it's awesome. And I created, I've been working on it and trying to perfect, I've perfected it. And, when I do a reading, I share it with you.
Yes. I got the opportunity to get a reading and it was so good. And Logan knows what he's talking about. So I encourage everybody to check out Brain, Body, Soul.
Soul, yeah, Brain Body. That's my current website. I have another one coming out that I'm working on right now that will replace that one. But yeah, brainbodysoul.org.organization.org, brainbodysoul.org. And if you need to get a hold of me, like I said, if you want a personal reading, my website's been acting kind of finicky, so you can't book anything on there, but it's just decodeyourreality@gmail.com, and I'll send you my links. It's got all my prices in there and all that kind of stuff. But it's an investment in yourself. Like, it's an investment in who you are and why you're here. And somebody needs that.
And I can tell that Logan is so sincere, and I'm so glad I did my reading. It's well worth it. So we're coming to the end of the show. We're going to pull the Sexy Brilliant cards.
Nice.
Sexy Brilliant Empowerment cards. You can check them out. They're available on sexybrilliant.org. We are a registered nonprofit foundation to raise human consciousness, and that's why we're doing this show today. So,
how many cards are in that deck, Devina?
This one has 53.
53.
53, yeah.
Nice.
53 cards, and I think 1 card for instructions. But I forgot to tell you, they're a little bit X-rated.
Oh, they're X-rated? Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
So let's see which cards you pull, and if you've got kids here, don't make sure the kids are not.
It'd be offended if we pull a phallus out, Carter.
Okay, so choose a card, and we're gonna say, for time purposes, let's choose a card from 1 to 3. 1, 2, or 3.
1, 2, or 3. You're gonna pull 3 cards, or you're asking what number 1, 2, 3?
I'm going to pull one card.
What's the card for?
Okay, card 4.
No, hold on a second. No, I said, what is it for? But I have something that maybe you want to entertain before we go.
Yes.
Okay, so for everybody listening out there right now, I want you to think of how you see the world in the next 6 months to 1 year. Just get that vision in your head. Like, how do you see the world in the next 6 months to 1 year? And then Devina, you can pull a card. Let's see I want to see what your renditions of your cards are, with everybody kind of collectively giving that energy to this reading right now. So between 6 months and 1 year, how do you see the world coming into the play on the world stage?
Okay, ready?
Ready. Let's just pull one. You pull it.
Okay, I love that. I love just pulling cards because they're all talking. They all want to come out right now. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is going to be so fun. I hope it's not about sex. Knowing my life.
It'll be an interesting interpretation if it is, but let's see what you got.
Oh my goodness. It says, if you can see it.
Tell me, what does it say?
It says sexy, brilliant love.
Oh, okay. And what's the description of that card?
It says, let love shine. The more sexy love we spread around, the more love we have for others and for ourselves. And then self-respect starts with self-love. All types of love start with kindness and compassion. And when we show kindness to ourselves, we are able to share it with others.
Oh, see, and that's beautiful. I mean, that is such a great card to actually collectively pull for everybody that participated in the mindset of that card right there. I mean, self-love and love for the world. I think that's what everybody, we're coming together right now. And for the majority of you already know it's about brotherhood and unity and that Christ consciousness, if you will, which, is all about coming together as one and leaving behind the dogma and propaganda that doesn't involve love, but involves a lot of selfishness and kind of lower vibrational frequencies.
So beautiful. So thank you. That was a brilliant idea, by the way. We should do that every time. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. I mean, you are watching Brilliantly Sexy with Devina Kaur. And tonight, it's my pleasure to have Logan Jayson. Please check out his work at brainbodysoul.org.
Thank you.
And of course, you can check out our work at sexybrilliant.org. We are a registered nonprofit foundation to raise human consciousness. And I am so grateful that we're here. Please share this video, tag your friends, share it with your mom. That's how we start changing our karma, by doing good, by paying it forward in the best way we can.
Nice. I love it. Thank you, Devina.
Thank you so much. Love you. I'm watching so many messages, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's here. My heart is with you guys. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good
Good morning to everybody in India and Australia.
I love India, baby.
Yeah, and Logan, before we end, I want to ask a question. Do you want to see Logan back again on the show? Give me a yay so that we can come back and do another show with Logan and more information.
Awesome.
Bye.
Awesome. All right. See you guys. Thank you.